if it's a heavy snow year and uh, you never know when you're going to sink down in, um, and if the sun is beating down on the snow for weeks, melting, and then the sun crates are huge,
And it freezes at night.
and then it freezes at night. So it's just this uneven ground of slip and slide, and it's just very fatiguing,
It's
mile
extremely
after
fatiguing.
mile.
Extremely fatiguing.
And
Another hazard is that if there are objects under the snow, like a huge boulder or a tree stump, the sun coming down heats the stump or the boulder, and the snow melts, but the top layer doesn't melt. You can be running along, and suddenly your leg just goes right through, because the snow's only about that thick above this big pit in the ground.
right.
And often you look at these things as you go by, and there's sharp sticks and branches sticking straight up. A person could get a really bad injury that way. I thought I had broken my knee once in a training run because I was running downhill very fast, and there was a branch across, not a branch, a small tree trunk across the trail. So as I got to it, I planted my left foot hard to jump over it, and my left foot went right down through, and my knee hit the log, and all my momentum took me forward, and I felt an excruciating pain in my knee, and I thought I was going to be stranded up there in the middle of nowhere until rescue could come. And luckily, after about half an hour of gently moving it, it got to where I could jog back to continue on.
So this is a interesting question for you. I do most of my training by myself.
Yeah, I do.
You did
Yeah.
too, right? So you're training in long runs in the mountains by yourself, and now and then you do take falls.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, it's I anyway. It's yeah.
Yeah. I did a run once from Robinson Flat, I think it was Robinson Flat, up to Squaw. And it was a very cloudy day, low clouds. And the higher I got, because I was going up and the clouds were staying where they were, the closer I got to them. And before I got to the backside of Immigrant to go up, I was in dense fog. I couldn't see more than about from here to that wall. And I thought I was going to be lost overnight. And I was kind of wandering. I was on a trail, but then there was a fork in the trail. I wasn't sure which way to go. And thank goodness for briefly the wind blew and a little hole in the cloud opened up, and I saw a cliff, and I recognized the cliff and knew where I was. So I got up to the top and got over. And another time I ran from Squaw out to Robinson and back. And just before I got to Robinson Flat, the whole front sole of my left shoe came off. And I thought to myself, how am I going to get back? And I had a knife. I've always carried, emergency stuff, a little pack, and I cut off part of my shoelace, and I tied the sole back on to my toe, and made it all the way back. I was lucky.
Yeah.
But yeah, I loved running alone in the snow from Squaw to where I was running down, because it was beautiful. You couldn't see the trail, but it was pretty easy to follow it because we'd done it so many times that you knew what ridge top you were supposed to be on and where it dropped down. And I loved the feeling of it. You would see animal tracks, bear tracks. I saw mountain lion tracks once. It was just neat. But it was stupid because something bad could have happened.
So I just thought of this. What kind of training do you do? I know we tied for the 81, and I know the kind of training I did, but I don't know the kind of training you did mileage-wise for the 1981 race.
Well, I do the same thing every year. I raced a lot during the year, in marathons, 10Ks, and 20 miles and stuff. And so I would always do a 20-mile trail run, or sometimes a road run, on on the weekend, always. And then January, February, I'd start getting ready for Western States. So I would go out on a Saturday morning and I would bump my 20 miler up to 30 miles. And back then that was easy to do. It wasn't a problem. Today I wouldn't be able to do that at age 87. But then I would do three 30-mile runs on the weekends, consecutive weekends. Then I would bump up to 40 and do three 40-mile runs, and then bump up to 50 and do three 50s, and then three 60s, and then three 70s. And what I found is that every time I bumped up, that would be my slowest of my three runs at that mileage level. The next one would be faster, and the third one would be even faster. And then finally, everybody else would taper off, but the week before Western States, I would go out on Wednesday and do a 20 or 30-mile run through the canyons. And then I would rest the next 3 days. What did you do?
In a nutshell, basically, for 4.5 months, I averaged 120 to 125 miles a week, with some weeks being down at 90, other weeks being up to 140. So with some 30 to 40-mile runs, I think I had less long runs than you did, but I had mileage. And I found that with the consistent high mileage, with once in a while racing, I did race about every 3 to 5 weeks, an ultra, whether it was a 50-mile or anyway. And so that prepared me well.
Yeah.
So.
Everybody's different. Jim King once told me he never ran more than 30 miles training runs before Western States. And just to say it about Jim King, the guy that you ran down on the streets of Auburn, he was an incredible runner. He says, and I have no reason not to believe him, that he ran every step of Western States. I didn't come close to that. I would walk the steepest hills, the uphills, and then make up time on the downhills. But I saw a video of him once, I've forgotten, Wide World of Sports or something. He was coming up the Elephant's Trunk. The Elephant's Trunk is a diagonal trail that comes out the face of basically a cliff. It's not quite a cliff. And it's like this, and it's at about 7,000 or 8,000 feet. And it was all I used to be able to do, just to walk up it, panting. And the guy with the video camera watching Jim King come up was at the top looking down. And Jim comes running up it, just looking around, just running with big strides. And he gets to the top and he says, "Oh, hi, how are you?" I couldn't have talked going up that to save my life. And he did win the race, of course, once or twice on his own. So he has that win, which is good.
So.
Well, I feel exactly the same way. And I just wish we had known we were going to be here today back during the 78 race, so that we would have had 40 years to rehearse what we were going to say here. But truly, it's one of my favorite memories in my life, and I would not want to look back now and think about, oh boy, 78, that was the race I managed to somehow beat Jim Howard by 2 minutes to win it. Nor would I want to look back and think, oh my God, I lost again to another runner for by 2 minutes in Western States. So I see nothing remotely negative about it, and I think it was a remarkable show of camaraderie. And I am absolutely positive there's nobody else in the race I would have tied with. If I'd been running with Mike Catlin or any of the other good racers all the way along, I think they would have still gone for the win, and I know I would have still gone for the win. But the whole run was special in that way.
Oh yes, it's and whether you know this or not, I consider you like an older brother.
A much older brother. Thank you.
Yeah.